Hey, this is Professor Homa. I'm going to go over the steps to downloading your files for your software extensions assignment. And then I'm going to splice this beginning part to a tutorial that I did last spring that covers the same steps. So one thing that I just want to point out at the bottom, I like to use Firefox on Windows. I find I have less problems, and in the lab at school they use Firefox as well. Sometimes Internet Explorer, you might have some issues when you download files. I'm not saying you can't use it, but you might want to be using Firefox as you go along if you have any problems. Now, just for the sake of going quicker here, I have some things uploaded here already on screen rather than logging in. But obviously you would log in here to Blackboard and log in and come up to your assignments page. Under assignments, here's email, homepage, introduction to computers, and then your software extensions exercise. There's 4 files here that you're going to need to work with. There's a Word notes file, there's instructions that you're going to want to print out, your notes you're going to want to print out. There's also a sample PDF file. That one you're going to have to open up in Acrobat Reader. So if you don't have Acrobat Reader, you might want to download it from adobe.com. Most people have Acrobat Reader already installed, but you may want to do that. That's so you can see the finished product without actually having the Word file, because if you had the Word file, you wouldn't have anything to do with it. And then this last one, the text file, is what you're actually going to work on. And to download these, typically you're just going to right-click and do Save Link As. Now in a different browser it may say the wording may be a little different, but basically you want to download all these. And you want to go into your CSC W1 file that I already had a little tutorial of creating folders. Each one of these folders should have a My Assignments and a Notes and Handouts. So obviously you'd probably be going into your Word file, double-clicking, and if they were notes such as Word Intro, you'd go into your Notes and Handouts. Now, I already downloaded these. Here's your Word Intro, and here's your instructions. I did this already. So these are ones you'd want to download and then print out, and then save them into the Notes and Handouts. Also, the sample PDF is one you're also going to want to download and open up in Acrobat Reader. So if you did want to open it up again after the fact, you might want to, in your downloads, you could double-click on it. It may open up in Acrobat Reader. This text file, again, that's the one you actually want to save this one into your My Assignments. You want to make sure you're going into your CSC 112 W1 file, going into Word, going into My Assignments, and here I already have it downloaded and saved, so I'm not going to save it over again. But this is where you're going to want to save your text. You're not going to open it, although you may try to, but I just want to save it down first. Okay, and before I do anything else, I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go here to my computer, and I'm going to find my file. Here's my W1 folder, and here's my Word file, and here's my Notes and Handouts. And again, to open all these and print them out, if you right-click on the sample one, the PDF, you go to Open With, and you should have Acrobat Reader as an option to open that up. And I'll just do that right now. So again, I just right-clicked on that, and I did Open With Acrobat Reader, and that's where I want to open that. I just want to show it to you. This is the finished product. Not a whole lot to do on here, and here's some Adobe message, which I'll X out of, but we're going to be setting up our headings. We're just going to use red, blacks. There's some indents, there's some leaders. These little dots here are leaders. There's tabs, so everything's lined up neatly along the sides. So this is the finished product. You can even print this out, whether you have a color printer or black and white printer. And color on the whole file is this red at the beginning, so it doesn't matter if you print it out in a black and white printer. It'll just come out gray, that top heading, but you could print it out in a black and white printer. Or whatever you want. So anyway, this is in Acrobat Reader. This is the finished product. You might want to print that out, just look at it and have in front of you as you work through this assignment. So I'm going to X out of this right now, and I'm just going to go to the part of this assignment where I start. That way, and then I'm going to actually splice this with an older video tutorial that I did last semester. But it's the same steps. So what you're going to do after you download all of these files is you're actually going to launch Word. So I'm going to go on my computer in Windows. I'm going to go to my Start menu over here and launch Word 2010. This is 2007. I didn't, you should be able to open all these files, even if you're on an older version, even if you're on a Mac. Obviously, there's going to be different ways of doing things on a Mac, but I'll show you some of those for people who are working on Mac. But what you're going to do is you're going to do File Open. I'm going to go to the File tab, and on the older versions, in 2007, you had the Start button, or not the Start button, there was an Office button up at the top instead of a File button. But they put this back since most programs have a File button. So I'm going to go File Open, and I'm going to find, and I'm navigating back into my folders, into my Assignments folder. That should be the one that says Word 01 Software Extensions Text. It's a text file, so if you don't see it, if it looks blank here and you're saying I'm not seeing it, make sure that you're not on all Word documents, because if you were on Word documents you would not see it. So make sure that you're on all files on this bottom corner here when you open the file, then you'll see it. Okay, so if you're not seeing it, then you didn't watch this video. Alright, so I'm going to select this file and I'm going to open it, and you may get this kind of conversion here. It's converting this text file. You could leave it on Windows default. Even if you're working on a Mac, that's fine. And just hit OK. And it should open up and look like this. Okay, so from here on out, I'm actually going to splice this, what I just did right now, into an older video that I did in the spring that'll pick up right here, because I already have the editing done and notes and stuff that are on here. So for the people taking this in summer online class, the rest of the video from here on out will be an older version, but it should be the same steps that you have on the sheet. So I'll continue to that. Open up looking like this. It won't be formatted like the way it'll be finished. It'll look like this. It'll be in Courier font, which we're going to change, and we're going to set tabs. We're going to do some character formatting, which is usually anything involving the font or anything that you can do to one character. Anything that you could highlight one character and change is usually character formatting, and that's usually in this font section. And also paragraph formatting, such as indents, where we make the lines go in further. Setting tabs, using space before, that's all going to be under this section, paragraph. And we may use these things. These are the paragraph or the dialog box launchers. They're for ones for font. We'll be using this one here. When you click on it, it opens up this little palette. So we call that the dialog box launcher. So we'll be using this for a bunch of settings in this exercise. And it's probably going to need 2 videos to do this. So this will probably be part 1 of what we're doing here. So we're going to start off. I'm going to follow the instructions on the sheet that you have and that we used in class for review. So I'll just follow that from number 1. We already downloaded it and I opened it. We're going to check the margins. One place to check the margins is under Page Layout, up here in the Page Layout tab. You could go over to Margins down here and you can see it says Custom Margins. Another place you can go is and I could go to Custom Margins down at the bottom and it'll bring this up, this Page Setup. I could also use the dialog box launcher and bring up Page Setup, and you can see that the margins aren't exactly 1 inch, so I'm just going to put them exactly at 1 inch and hit OK, and that just fixes them. So my margins are 1 inch all around right now, and that's number 2 on our instructions. Number 3 on the instructions is to just put my cursor anywhere in this text and do Control A, which selects all my text, even if you can't see it. And I'm going to change the font, so I'm going to go to the Home tab, and this is showing up blank right now, which means there could be a mix of some things in there. And I'm going to choose Cambria, which is a serif font, which we talked about in class, and that's on the notes, the word notes. I'm going to make that Cambria, and I'm going to make it 12 point. And all my text now is at Cambria 12 point. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a tab and do some formatting with this, but I'm going to stop right now because I'm almost at my 5-minute mark already. Boy, that went fast. So I'm going to stop right here, and then I'll see you for part 2 for a little bit more formatting.